Hey, welcome back. So, first thing that happens when you start the game, is it gives you very helpful information that at first you're not going to make heads or tails of, but it actually is extremely helpful because every country does have its own situation. And like I said, this is 99 games in one. So, what it's trying to do is it's explaining with the Reconquista almost complete, blah blah blah. This is your situation and we're looking at trying to get to new continents. So basically, we're going to start exploring. And the religion, of course, is Catholic and explains how the papacy and stuff works. I think you can click on things, maybe you can't. Um, this down here is all the DLCs I have, which is a lot. And that's all this is trying to do is just explain that those are all turned on. And the government itself is a monarchy, which is what most of Europe is. Um, you have to you either have to go into Italy, or like I said, Novgorod was a republic. Um, you have to go into the more obscure areas of the world to get different types of governments. Venice, I think, has a really unique one. The Papal State, of course, has a unique one. Um, the governments are huge in this game. They put so much time and effort into the different governments, and again, that's part of the 99 games in one, right? Then the environment is just trying to tell you uh, what you should or shouldn't get into. I don't know why it's going on and on about the Holy Roman Empire. Um, we're nowhere near it, so um, that actually doesn't make any sense. Um, Usually, you get this message if you're in the Holy Roman Empire. I guess it's just trying to tell you about it, but who cares? None of that matters. We are Portugal. Okay, so what it does is it's going, I'm going to zoom out real quick. This is the world as you know it. This is the part why I was laughing because it said that I had a casus belli against that little territory, which was way down in Madagascar. Madagascar, we don't even know that Madagascar exists right now. That's down here into the terra incognita, which is the unknown. And here you can see we do have one territory that we're aware of, uh, Guerra, which is considered colonial Brazil. Um, for whatever reason, that's available to us, and I don't know why. In fact, I think that's a glitch in the game. It should not be available to us, but it is. Um, and if you had a colonist, you could send one right now to colonize that territory. Um, I'm absolutely fascinated that this is actually available for us to see. Um, so we'll get into colonists in a second, but let's talk about some more things. And I know we got to talk interface, but now that you've seen this is the world as we know it, and so Europe doesn't see very far beyond uh, Muscovy, right? We know about the Ottoman Empire in the Middle East, but it only goes so far. And I think everybody knows China exists. You have Marco Polo doing his little, um, he's going through. Everybody knows about India, but we don't know enough to make heads or tails of it from a government perspective. We need to discover it, and that's part of the exploration of the game. Okay, 1444. I'm assuming this is right when the medieval period is finally ending, the Dark Ages, and we're getting. Again, my history might be bad. Um, so what's our situation? Uh, so much to talk about. Okay, first one is when you select a particular province, as you can see, the province highlights, and then all kinds of information gets displayed about the province. This, of course, uh, is we got several windows we can pop out. This being an institution, which I'll explain later. This being the different buildings you can have. And this by itself is an hour-long video to talk about. Okay. I know some of you might be like, for God's sakes, it took you an hour just to start the game. And the answer is yes. This whole video series is going to be like this if you really want to understand things. And so, what I'm going to try to do is pick and choose pieces and talk about them when they make sense. Okay. Um, so, first thing is just understand that these provinces have a lot of information behind them. Okay. Some of the key things that when you first start out you need to understand is the total development is 13, which is just 5 plus 3. So there's 3 areas you can develop. And if you hover over it, this one is your taxes, your ability to tax. Okay. This one is your production, you produce production of goods. And then this last one is your military power, which really dictates like how much manpower you have to recruit new troops. Total, that's a development of 13. Okay. As long as you understand that, that's an excellent start. Okay. Now, what does it produce? It produces, where it is the production? Oh, right here. It produces wine, Vera. And wine has a price of $2.50. Um, I think it's ducats. It's ducats. So is what it uses. I'm going to use dollars. Don't care. So it's 250, and it actually reduces local unrest because how can you be willing to rebel when you're drunk all the time? Um, okay. So if I pick another one, actually that's wine. There you go. There's one that makes grain. Again, for the same price, and it actually improves your land force limit. And I know these might all be things that you don't understand, but here, fish increases your local sailors modifier. So can you change the good? No. This is the good that that region produces. And you can see the livestock is actually cheaper than wine, which is not good for you, um, but it's good for you in other ways. Okay, so uh, now this is how much tax you get. And you can see this is all based on monthly numbers. It'll tell you what the yearly number is there. Um, your base is 0.24. You got an efficiency of 115%. It's a core, meaning that it's part of your country. It has a city, which gives you plus 25%, and it has clergy. Now, that, of course, your clergy bonus gives you 15%. I think that's really it is. You get a clergy bonus. And then you have local autonomy that reduces it by 25%. Okay, right here you can see autonomy 25%. So if you hover over most of the numbers, it'll tell you why that number is the way it is. And it's causing all kinds of negative things to happen to you. And it's changing by 0.125 each month in your favor. And it's doing it because of the government rank and because you're at peace. It can never be lower than 25% because the nobility controls it. That's this here. So the nobility is in control of that region. Now, what you have in this game, and this is not a base game thing, this was an expansion pack. You have these things called estates. I'm going to hover over here to the right. You have the burghers, which are your merchants. You have the clergy, which is of course your cardinals, or not. Well, I wouldn't want to use the word bishops, and nobility, which of course are just your various lords and nobles that are allegiant to you and the country. Um, so we're going to go really in depth on these later, but you can see the little pop-up that says like the nobility here, the loyalty is 50%, influence 75%, territory 41. Okay, I'm going to jump ahead here and I'm going to click on this shield, and we're going to jump over to estates, which is the very last one, and you'll see those same 3. And what's happening is that the loyalty of the nobility is at 50%, and their influence is at 75%. So they're very strong in their influence, which um, what you want is you want high loyalty but low influence. That's really what you want. You don't want their influence to be super high because then they get cocky and start to rebel against you and think that they don't need you anymore. And then here is how much of the state development do they control? And the amount of land increases their influence by 50%. So they control the following provinces. You can see blah, 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 blah. Well, one of them is Beja, which is the province that we had selected. So they control that province. Now, what do we get for letting them have control of these provinces? Well, we get manpower recovery speed. We get all those bonuses you see there. And it's based on loyalty. It's not based on influence at all. Okay. The clergy, remember they gave us a bonus in our taxes. They give us a 15% bonus. If we can get their loyalty above 60%, they actually give us a stability cost modifier bonus, and a papal influence bonus. So now if the loyalty ever goes below 40%, we start getting penalties. And then you can see here that they have control over two regions, Porto and Evora. And then here you can see Aveiro is under the burghers. And in fact, I'm not even sure there's a single province that's not under someone's control. So burghers, clergy, I'm looking right here. Right there. So Lisboa is the only one that the estates don't control. And you can see the autonomy is down to 0 in that case. And then, of course, we're going to get the best tax revenue from that one because that goes directly to us. So what does all this mean? Well, the nobility and whatnot, these different estates, again, it's all part of an expansion pack. They're taking their cut of the taxes. And in exchange, you get support from them, which gives you those various bonuses that we talked about. And I know I'm going into some detail on this, and I apologize because I'm trying my hardest not to get sucked in, and I'm letting myself get sucked in. And anyways, that's it's sort of hard to do with this game. Okay, so like I said, we got the different provinces. There's a lot of information. I was telling you like the key things to look at are your development here, your tax revenue is semi-important. The good that produces is actually not important in the beginning of the game. I think as you start to micro it a little bit more, this is going to become important to you, and you can even click on it and see more information about it. And this is how much you produce and how much is uh, totally produced. Um, but here's the next thing. You have a trade node. So we talk about the trade node, and there's all kinds of information about the trade nodes. I'm not going to get into that at the moment. You have all these views down here. This bottom right box, of course, is the world view, right? So you can see the world map, but you could also switch the view. And this is just like when we were creating a new game. This is the trade node view. And remember, I was telling you that there's a trade node and then there's these arrows. So you could see that England there's the English Channel trade node, and it generates, its value is 13.1 ducats a month. You can see these little arrows. They're coming from incognito, and you can see in the red there, it says you need the quest for the new world to explore across the ocean. So what the game does is those arrows are there, they're hard-coded. So as far as the English Channel is concerned, they don't know deck diddly about North America. And so North America is not sending goods, um, to the English Channel. And in fact, you can hover over um, the different arrows here, and you don't see anything going back and forth between them. But if you go, like for example, to here, you can see 1.58 is going to Genoa. So this is our trade node, Sevilla. That's the trade node we're a part of. So we have 27% power. 27% of the power in that trade node belongs to us. And we're at 90, I'm sorry, 6.6 ducats is how much we get out of it. Or I'm sorry, no, that's the total trade value of the node. It's pretty weak right now, and we collect 2.92. You can see that there. Okay, 1.58 is getting sucked out, and it's being sucked out by all of these countries here. So Aragon, Genoa, Florence, Savoy, and Lucca, they're stealing money from this trade node. And they're not stealing, but you know what I mean. They're siphoning it away. And where are they sending it? Well, they're sending it down these arrows to this trade node, which is Genoa. And you can see Genoa is one of the mega trade nodes. I don't know what the term is for it, but we call these the mega ones because look, everything flows to a Genoa, but nothing flows out. You see that? And so they're going to be worth, these are going to be the more powerful trade nodes because they're going to be worth more. That one's worth 18.2. Ours is worth 6.6, just as a cross reference, right? Venice is going to be another one of those powerful ones. Everything goes to Venice, okay? Same deal. And you can see that these countries here that are all listed, they're pulling 1.46 out of Ragusa over to Venice. So the idea here is you're going to have merchants, and they're competing against each other for trade. And the trade, of course, is This is an abstract representation of all the goods that we produce. Remember, this one produced cows, another one produced wine. Everything that we produce contributes towards the trade node. And then what happens is we have power at that trade node, and that power is based on our technology level. It's based on what we produce and how much of it we produce, and that contributes to our overall power at that trade node. And so then the trade node as a collective whole, it generates 6.6 ducats. It actually makes more than 6.6. It's just that 1.58 of it's getting sucked away. Okay? But what it has is 6.6. And then of that 6.6, um, actually, no, I apologize. It's producing you can see it right there. It's producing 6.6. We're getting 1.57 that we're sucking from somewhere else, right? So 1.57 is coming in, and then 1.58 is going out. So we're basically breaking even, right? So they're stealing, siphoning away some, and then we are right here. 0.96 is being siphoned from Safi in Morocco, so we're siphoning 0.96, and this red check mark means that's us. We're doing that. And you can see right here, Portugal is putting 17.69 power in that direction, and Castile is helping us as well. So the two of us are working together to siphon from this trade node, which only makes 2.56. It's a crappy trade node. But what we're doing is we're pulling 0.96 out, and it's coming into here. Now, the rest of these aren't doing anything for us yet because we need to find and discover the trade node that these arrows are coming from. And once we do, we can start siphoning from there. And here's where the game gets really powerful. And, bear with me because I'm trying to explain this as best as I can. These little arrows here, when you start discovering the new world and you create colonies, so let's say that those colonies produce tobacco. Well, that tobacco is going to go into our local trade node. And what we're going to want to do is we want to send our merchants to that trade node to siphon it and basically steal it away. And we're going to push it down along these pathways into our Sevilla trade node where we're going to have a lot of power because this is our trade node, right? And so then we're going to push it into the Sevilla trade node, and then we're going to siphon that power and collect that money, and that's how we get mega bucks in this game. Trading is super it's a very cool thing once you understand it. Now, I didn't even scratch the surface on how it all works, but I think at a high level, hopefully you understand what these arrows mean. And I'm going to click on this real quick just to show you what it's trying to say is like we're the second most powerful in that trade node. Of course, Castile is the top, and we're generating 2.92 for ourselves. And then Castile's actually getting 4.22 out of it. So out of that 6 point whatever it was making, we're getting almost the lion's share of it between the two of us, and everybody else is just getting piecemeal. Now, why is that happening? Why is that true? Well, if you look at all of the provinces that make up that trade node, it's Portugal and Castile, and that's it. There is no, there's like one or two provinces that are controlled by Safi, which I think is Morocco here. And they're not even generating anything from it. But oh, and Granada. This is Granada. This part here, and you can see that they're getting a little bit. Okay, so these little green arrows means that they're using their power to just transport away. They're siphoning away. Okay. Okay. So I know I'm getting sidetracked a lot, but again, these different views show you things that we've already talked about. There's a whole bunch of them here. Like opinion means France doesn't think very highly of Portugal. England likes me because they're green, etc. From a technology perspective, you can see that everybody in Europe started the game at 333. And you could go down to this Africa. Oh, we can't see them. But remember how the Africa ones were at 222? They would show up as a different color. God only knows what color they would actually be. I don't know. There is this dynastic thing, the ruling dynasties. I never use this, which I do find it interesting, like House Lancaster is running Britain right now. But institutions is another expansion pack thing. And right now we're all in the age of discovery. And as time goes on, that's going to change. the Renaissance sort of happens, and you have to like embrace the new institution, and it sort of spreads like a plague in a way, but it's a good plague. Like it's like knowledge spreading. Um, okay, this stuff to the right is extremely helpful. It's telling you at a glance the information that you need for running your country. So, for example, I have two merchants. One is in Safi. We talked about that one because remember that was the one that was pushing the 0.96. The other one is in Tunis. And here you can see we're pushing zero point 0.6 towards Sevilla. And zero point 0.6 is an awfully low number. And it's only producing 1.1. So one of the first things I'm going to do in this game is I'm going to click on Sevilla, and I'm going to move one of my merchants to here. So I'm going to do this, and I'm going to take this one from Tunis because you can see he's only producing 0.2 for me. And you can see that at a glance. That's what's awesome about this game, right? So I have good information that lets me make a good choice. And I'm going to move him, the Tunis one, to Sevilla. Now, why am I going to do that? Well, he's not going to arrive for 13 days. And right now it's November 11th. So I got to wait 13 days. But just remember, we are earning 2.92. When he arrives, this number should go up. And if it goes up by more than 0.2, then we made the right choice. So would that be? 3.12. We need to be more than 3.12 when he arrives. Otherwise, we didn't make a good choice. Well, actually, no, I apologize. They're moving 0.2 to Sevilla, and then we're only getting 27% of that. So we're not even getting the full 0.2. But yeah, you'll see that we're going to lose the 0.2 from here, and then that'll make the 6.66 will go down because the incoming here of 1.57 is going to drop. And you can see Tunis is 0.6. That should drop to 0.4 because we're no longer in Tunis sending information. Okay, so that is just the trade game, right? So now that I got that set up, let's get through the rest of it. This is just like Civilization, where you have these little reminders of things that are going on. This reminder is just telling you this is all the countries that are in they're in trouble. So basically, if their king were to die right now, they have no heir, and they may end up in a personal union, or they may have a revolt. There's all kinds of problems for them, and they haven't produced a baby, and they don't have somebody to take over the country. So the one that's jumping out to us is I can't, like, if I move my mouse away, and I would love to point with my finger, but if you look about halfway down, there's one for oh, I thought Navarra. It's actually a quarter of the way down. Navarra, maybe 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down. And Navarra's monarch is 46 years old, and they're on the verge of not having an heir. So if we can have a relationship with Navarra, which is right here, and you always have to check their monarchy type, because if they're not a monarchy, it's pointless. But we could possibly do diplomacy with them, and diplomacy, by the way, has a lot of stuff. See how everything expands out? We can do a royal marriage with them. Now, the problem with that is that may help them to actually have a baby. And you can see no legal heir. But by doing a royal marriage with them, you sort of have to do that because that's your only way of claiming the throne. So if the king dies and there's no legal heir, we could actually just take it over outright because it may fall, the succession may cause it to fall to us. So hopefully that makes sense. It's a little complicated. I don't fully understand all the ins and outs of it, but just understand that this is where the randomness and the luck come in. So uh, so anyways, sorry, I was responding to a text. That's not a good thing to do while you're doing video. So that's where some of the luck comes in, but this is also where the strategy comes in. So Navarra is in dire straits. we may have an opportunity to take it over. Okay? Um, but Castile's thinking the same thing. So you got to be a little mindful of that. It doesn't hurt to have friends. Now, these are the three. This is like they're tech points, if you want to think of it that way, but they're not just tech points. And they are definitely resources. Think of it that way. And they're resources that are super precious. There's never enough of these. You want infinite number of these. Now, it does say that you can only keep 999 power. That is true. But most of the time, you're going to be nowhere near 999 because you're always going to have something to spend it on. That's the point. Okay, so you got administrative, and you're going to notice that it says the monthly increase is 6. 4 of it comes from Infante Pedro's administrative skill. You'll see that as a +4 in green. Okay, so if I click on this and I click on, oh, where's he at? Here, the court. Infante Pedro is the monarch. That's our king. He's Alfonso V. Okay, he is providing 4 administrative skill. So if you hover over this, you can see that we get a base value of 3. And then he's adding 4 more, so we're at 7. But our national focus is causing it to drop down to 6. And I'm going to fix that right now. This little check mark here means that we're boosting up our diplomatic power. I'm going to uncheck that. And so now everything is... So what this does is it takes 1 away from here and 1 away from here and adds, I think it was 2 to there. So you're sort of shifting them around, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to make it so they're all natural. Anyways, 421, and if you hover over this, you'll see he's adding +2, and if you hover over this, he's adding +1. Now, the big thing is your military power. You'll see there at the very bottom, not at the very bottom, but close to the bottom, it says 2 of 2 leaders. Okay, and then it says 0. If you have more leaders than 2, it'll cost you military power. You actually incur a penalty. Here it says 1 of 4 diplomatic relations. The one diplomatic relation I have is with England because I have an alliance with them. Okay, so basically, with my current diplomatic skills and technology, I can have relations with 4 nations for no penalty. But if I try to have a diplomatic relation with a 5th nation, I'm going to incur a penalty. And this is huge. Remember, I said you want an infinite number of these, so you don't want negative numbers being added to your power. Okay, so this is worth explaining. And I know, like, you might be thinking, well, let's get on with the game. No, 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 no. This is worth it. This is the game right here, is understanding this stuff. So as you can see, I have an alliance with England, and I can have 3 more relations. So I want to be careful. So at this stage of the game, I need to pick allies, who I'm going to ally myself with. And this is just like the precursor to World War I, right? You know, one guy got assassinated, and then next thing you know, 30 countries are at war with each other because they all had some kind of relationship with each other. That's exactly what we're doing in this game. We're setting up our relationship with the other countries, and we're making it so we can go to war piecemeal, or if we do go to war, we got people watching our back. One of the key things we want to do is we want to be friendly with Castile, largely because France doesn't like us. And you can tell this by here, French opinion of Portugal is -115. And by the way, I'm just right clicking to pull this up. Our opinion of them is -40. I mean, who cares? They have hairy armpits. Castile, however, you can see is +50, right? So, and then you can see we're getting, because we're the historical friends, we have the same religion, we're getting bonus +25. With France, they consider us a rival. So that's why you get -100 right out of the bat, because they're calling us a rival. And you can see France has 3 rivals, and you get to pick your rivals, by the way. England, Austria, and Portugal. So this is the part of the game that is awesome. If I quit the game and started a new one, France may not pick me as their rival in the next one. And so the fact that France has a minus 100 modifier against us is partly because we got picked to be their rival. And this is where the game just has these really cool little features where certain countries become your rival. And so the last game where France and I were best buddies through the whole game and we fought side by side, not this game. Nope. I have to accept the fact that France doesn't like me, and I'm probably going to have to do something about it because France can kick my butt. So, so if France were to declare war on me, who's going to help me? Well, England is first of all, but I can't rely on England too much. I'm allied with England, so guess what? I'm going to go to war with France anyways. And by the way, the chances are high you're going to get selected. Um, with this, so actually, if I created a new game 5 times in a row, I may get picked as their rival 4 of those 5 times. I'm not trying to say that it's completely random or different, but that is some of what changes the game. The other thing is that there's a secret. I don't even know what you call it, but the game randomly picks 6 or 8. I don't know. There's a Wikipedia that describes it, but there's some number of countries in this game that are like considered secret superpowers. So the game uh, randomly selects who gets it, and then when they get it, they basically just, if they generate, let's say, 6 power, they're going to generate 10 power. Like they get an automatic +4 bump to everything, and they get automatic bumps to everything, and it's basically the game is like it's cheating, but it's cheating in a way that makes those countries grow strong, and they're going to be formidable and very difficult for you to take down. Um, and that's the other thing is this game it's not easy to take down like a France. To take down France would be near impossible. Um, Now to get a personal union over France and annex them, that is possible. But to like truly, conquer all the country or and take all the territory, it's really hard. But anyways, I'm digressing a little there. Uh, so what we want to do is we know we want to be friends with Castile, and they already have a check mark here showing us that they will be our friend. And so that's what we do. So if you come up here, I have 3 available diplomats. Okay, I have 1 missionary, I have 0 colonists, and I have 2 merchants which are already working. And in fact, we already moved one of them. So I'm going to offer an alliance to Castile. And that is, of course, going to send one of my 3 diplomats. And it's going to take him, you'll see here, it's taken him 3 days. And he's technically, he's traveling there. It'll take 3 days to get there. Okay? So remember, it's November 11th. The game is paused right now. I still have 2 more guys. What do I want to do? Well, you might be tempted to say, well, let's ally with Aragon too. That's a bad idea. First of all, there's a red X, which you can see minus 2,000. But their opinion about us is minus 1,000 because they have a negative opinion. And they think we're weak, which we are. So I'm not going to argue with that. But the bigger thing is that Aragon and Castile aren't going to be friendly towards each other. So if we're going to be allied with Castile, you don't want to also be allied with Aragon because that's foolish. And you definitely don't want to ally yourself with any of these Muslim places because we're Catholic, and it's just not going to work. Um, so we can stop, or we can keep going. Now, what you can also do is try to ally yourself with Scotland. Bad idea. Scotland and England, they fight each other a lot. You're allied with England, so don't ally with England's enemies because that'll cause problems. Um, so then, what do we do? Well, there's this little production interface which pulls up all these tabs. Near the very bottom is a diplomacy tab, and along here you can see alliance actions. So if I want to offer an alliance to somebody, it's telling me that nobody is willing to be in an alliance with me. That 0 is telling, well, actually, I'm sorry. Why can't I send an offer to Navarra? This is telling me all these people are willing to be my in my alliance, but it's saying I can't send another offer. I know I sent a diplomat, but I didn't send one to Navarro. That's interesting. I guess you can only send out one alliance offer at a time. Okay, well, anyways, you saw the really cool tool that once I click on that, it tells me with a green check mark who is willing to be an ally of mine, and then of course how strong it is, right? So Castile was my strongest one, so I picked properly. Navarra is another one. Remember, that's the one that's in crisis. So secession crisis. So that's an actual real nice one to consider. Leinster, some of these are you might be like, oh my gosh, where are these places? Well, this is Ireland, 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 France. Okay, Brittany's right here. All those other ones you were seeing there is um, Brittany or I'm sorry, not Brittany, but Desmond, Leinster. It's here. Um, I don't know why. Like this is Desmond right here, even though it says Cork. Um, there we go. If I scroll out enough, it says Desmond, but then I can't read it because my eyes aren't that good. And Leinster is this one, um, etc. So now I know this because I've played the game a million times. But if you go here to find down here or a shortcut of F, it brings us up. So you'll be like, hey, where's Desmond? So you can type it out and then click on it, and then it'll actually zoom in and see how it's highlighted in red. So even though it says Cork, in parentheses you'll see Desmond. Desmond's the name of the country. Cork is the name of the province. That's the reason why you see the two names. Okay, so I know that's a little on the detailed side, but before we're done, we got to finish these. This is just saying that we had a war with Granada, and a truce is going to expire in February of 1449. That's 5 years from now. So we can't go to war with them for 5 years. No problem. This one, we can hire advisors. The problem is we're not going to be able to afford it. If I hover, let's do this one properly. These are all different counters that you need to keep track of. Starting here is a power projection. If you have at least 50, you start to gain more power here. And you can see near the midway through the bottom, it says if you have at least 50 power projection, you get +1, +1, +1. That is huge. But how do you get extra power projection? Well, you can see, some of it comes from having high prestige, high fort power, having morale of armies really high, morale of your navies, having high global trade power. It's basically your power versus the other compared to your rivals. So it's really hard to manage. Just pay attention to it. You don't really have a lot of control over this, but as you grow in your power projection will grow as well. Okay, this is your legitimacy. The reason this is important is your heir to your throne. If you have a low legitimacy, then there's a chance that when your monarch dies, excuse me, like if I have a royal marriage with Castile, monarch dies, even though I have an heir, my legitimacy is really low because that heir, people are thinking that I was boffing the short wife or the maid, and so they may not think that that heir really is of royal blood. So Castile can make a claim to the throne. Okay, so you want this to be around 100. 100, of course, is that your heir is legitimate and no one's questioning who is next in line for the throne. Okay, so this is just an important number. The only reason this becomes important is if it's low. Otherwise, it's not a big deal. Prestige. Now, prestige is an interesting thing. It gives you all these weird bonuses. Prestige is, of course, how it's actually like, think of it like victory points. There is a score given to you at the end of the game. If you were playing a board game, prestige is everything, and I'm pretty sure that the board game will probably heavily rely on prestige. If you have a really high prestige, your armies will fight better. It's basically how others view you. And If you have a negative prestige, then it means that, and it says like right here, it says prestige affects many things, but primarily how likely other nations are to accept your proposals and how likely it is that your royal marriages will result in personal unions. So if you have a low prestige, you're the random factor of whether or not somebody, joins you or whether or not that claim to the throne belongs to you or to someone else. Prestige is a big factor in swaying that in your favor. Okay? Corruption is something you want to keep at 0, but obviously it can go up. Um, we'll talk about that more later. But basically, 0 is good. And you can see it's going up by 0.1, but it's also going down by 0.01, and that's perfect. That's the way you want it. Stability is either -3 or +3. -3 is a country in crisis. +3 is a country that's, you may not be doing well. You may be under attack. There could be a lot of things going wrong with you, but a high stability is awesome. And we'll talk about stability a lot in this game. It's super important. But a stability of 0 is neither good or bad. We definitely want to get that to +3 if we can. Okay, the sailors, think of this as like a manpower thing. If you build a new boat, you obviously need sailors to put into the boat. Or if your if your ships were to get into a battle, they're going to take damage. They may not get destroyed, but you're going to need to replenish sailors that died. This is your sailor pool. Okay, so right now 1350 that's pretty low. That's not a good pool of sailors, but compared to some other countries, this is amazingly good. Okay. But we need, and right there you can see the maximum sailors is 2886, and it's based on your provinces. So you can't exceed the maximum either. So you have like a max limit. So if we do nothing each month, it says you gain 24, and we're using 0 right now on missions. But I can promise you we're going to have to go on missions, and we're going to be spending more than 0. Manpower is the same thing, but it's with your armies. And there you can see that we have a maximum manpower of 16,983. So we want this to grow. Obviously, we're going to spend some of it, but we want to keep your manpower as high as possible. Because if you ever go to war and you take casualties, you want to be able to replenish your casualties, right? And then last but not least is the treasury. And here you can see I have 128 ducats, 0.73, and I get 2.88 a month. Okay, you earn income every month, and we're at November 11th, so I won't earn income until December 1st. Okay, so I'm getting 5.23 from taxes, 1.84 from production, 5.84 from trade. Remember that trade node stuff we talked about. I'm spending 0.84 in state maintenance. We haven't talked about states at all yet. My army maintenance is 4.24. You could see the army is very expensive to maintain. My fleet, which is my navy, is 1.93, and my forts are taking 3. Okay, the forts are being super expensive, and then I'm rooting out corruption, which I'm paying 0.02. Because you can see here, rooting out corruption is negative 0.01. So I'm spending 0.02 ducats a month to get that green 0.01 benefit there. Okay? All right, so why did I bring all that up? Well, the advisor one, we generate 7, 5, and 4. Okay, now you may look at this and say, okay, this is my weak link here. I want this to go up. So I'm going to click on an advisor, and this advisor will give me a +1 every month to my power. Okay, but he's going to cost me 14.8 ducats. I have 128. I can afford him, but then he's going to cost me 1 every month. So right now I'm making 2.88, and you might think, okay, well, you know what? I can afford that. Firstly, we need to go until December before we do any of this, because I don't think that 2.88 is reliable. I think that number is going to change, and it may not change in our favor. Now, they also give you other benefits, like if I hire this guy, my land force limit modifier goes up by 10%. We haven't talked about what that is, but just think of it as it's the maximum amount of troops you can have. And so he's going to allow us to have more to that. And then discipline is, how disciplined your troops are. It affects how well they do in battle. It's some of that micro number stuff that most people don't pay attention to, but discipline is good. And then here I can get a +2, but here you can see it's a 4. He costs 4 a month. I don't make 4 a month. I make 2.88. Okay. I'm going to wait before I hire any of these. Now, this is just saying he's Catholic, which in this part of the game is not a big deal, but if you start to have a multicultural, um, multi-religious country, you're going to get different religions to show up. It's going to give you different issues and problems. And then the culture, of course, is Portuguese for all three. Remember, the culture matters. Okay, so we're not going to hire an advisor. And you can see that there's a lot of tabs to learn and go through. We're not even close to being able to understand this game. But I know a lot of people are like, well, let's just play, and explain it as you go. Not that easy, but I will promise to do that. And we're 45 minutes in here. Okay, the one thing we must do is under the diplomacy tab, we have to pick rivals. If you don't, you get a big penalty. So I'm going to pick, for example, France. They made us a rival. We're going to make them a rival. So they're a rival. I don't like Grenada at all, so we're going to pick them. And then we're going to pick Morocco. Or we can pick Aragon. So if you pick a rival, you get 25% bonus prestige for defeating them in battle. You can construct spy networks against them, and demanding provinces from them is cheaper in a peace deal. So I'm going to do Morocco. Okay, so those are my three rivals. You only get to pick three, and if your power starts to increase, like for example, Granada there is not going to be a rival for very long. At some point, they're going to get so weak that we're going to be forced to pick another rival. Okay. One other thing you may want to do before you hit unpause is check the missions tab, which is this one. This is unique for every country, or mostly unique. The different expansions that are out there. Oh, I don't know what I just did there. So the different expansions out there sort of made these more robust. So, for example, one expansion was solely on England, and so England's got all kinds of really cool missions now. Another one helped Russia, and so here you could see, for example, we need to have monopoly on wine. So one of the following must be true. Own or have a subject own at least 10 provinces producing wine with a workshop or counting house. The workshop and counting house are two things that we can't even build because our technology isn't even there. So this is going to take a long time for us to fulfill. Now, if you scroll up, here they want us to be allied with England, and then their opinion of us needs to be at least 100. Okay, that's something to bear in mind. All right. Here, we need to launch a flagship. We'll talk about that in a bit. Here, we need 100% of our force limit of Navy. That's going to be expensive for us. So our economy may not be able to support that. But it's also why we haven't hired any advisors, because every time we build a ship, it's going to cost us maintenance. And here it's saying discover provinces, right, in the West African coast. So, and then have at least one colonist. So this might take a while as well, but we're close, right, to being able to do that one. And then you could see they even have like colonize missions. And if you were playing as England, this is completely different. Okay. Okay, so one other thing I guess to look at now that we've looked at this is the technology tab. And I know I'm bouncing around and I apologize folks, but we're at 3, 3, 3. And in order to get to level 4 temples, you can hover over here. You need 598 power. And currently I have 84. Okay. Every month I'm getting 7. Just to put it in perspective. So it's going to take a long time before I get that thing to level 4. Okay. The issue is, and then this technology, right? Administrative technology, what does it do for me? Well, first thing it does is administrative efficiency goes up by 10% at level 17, at level 23, and again at level 27. So this roots out corruption. By the way, that little symbol there is get rid of corruption. That's this symbol here. Okay. This here is ideas, which we're not going to talk about, but ideas are awesome. We need those. Production efficiency. At level 3, level 5, level 9, and so forth, it goes up by 2%. Development efficiency goes up. See, level 17 is super late in the game. I mean, obviously level 27 is even later, but we're not going to hit level 17 for hours of gameplay. So this won't happen anytime soon. And then here, these are the buildings that you eventually get to build. So at level 4, you get to build a church. And that's what this little picture of a church means, right? So you have several things, but you can see, you can plan ahead. So if you want a textile manufactory, you need to get that to level 11, for example. And so you're going to get like a sense for what these all do. So the diplomatic technologies, this is your trade range. Very important for when you're trying to trade over oceans. Like if you have a colony, which is your colonial range, and see, your colonial range goes up based on your level as well. And then how many settlers show up every month at your colony. So your colony gets set up. You need to have at least 1,000 population before it becomes a province. And here you're getting 25. You're getting 10 because of level 1, and you're getting another 15 because of level 3. So right now you're getting 25 a month. And then, of course, how many cultures are you going to support? You see? So increasing this is going to make your cultures go up. Here, your trade efficiency, how powerful are you going to be at controlling those trade nodes and pushing and pulling goods? 2%. And then another 2% at level 5. So level 5, whoever gets there first is going to have a huge advantage over everybody else if it takes them a while to get there. And then here you can see the naval maintenance is, of course, 10%. And that actually gets worse. So when you get to level 5, the Navy actually costs more to maintain, and it represents your more powerful ships. Your morale goes up for Navy. And then, of course, these are the buildings that you can ultimately produce. And then the military, it's the same deal, but this one is all about military advantages. So tactics, flanking, morale, combat width, and supply limit, and then of course the buildings you can produce. And then of course you have 3 types of troops. You have an infantry, and here you can see the different infantry that gets unlocked at the different levels. So at level 5, we're going to have a new set of infantry we can switch to. Here's your cavalry, and then there's your cannons. So we don't even get cannons until level 7. And then of course their bonus. So infantry fire gets improved at every level, and then infantry shock also gets improved. Cavalry shock, etc. Okay? There is so much to this game, folks. And the institution tech penalty gets applied. You have innovativeness. This is what I was telling you about. This is that revolution. So we start off in the feudalism, and then as this grows, it says it's already embraced. So then the next one is going to be the Renaissance. So when it's embraced, it hasn't been embraced yet. It looks like it's 1450 is when, so the year has to at least be 1450. And among my provinces, Lisboa is most likely to get it if it was in the region of Italy, which it's not. So we're probably not going to get the Renaissance. But there's a chance. There's always a chance. This changes every game as well. Excuse me. And so all these little check marks improve your chances that it's going to be yours. But we need to wait until 1450 before this even happens. And then as it happens, it's going to spread throughout the world. And if it's in your area, like if Lisboa is where it starts, then we actually get it first. So we'd be able to embrace Renaissance era before the rest of the world. And what that does is that actually gives you a tech bonus. So you research things quicker, and the game is so dang complicated. But just that within itself is a little bit of a mini game, but you don't have a lot of control over it, but it is fun to watch and see what happens. That's another expansion pack, by the way. You do have a ledger, so you can see where all your money's coming in and where it's going out. And the fort maintenance is a huge thing, which you don't see here. Well, you actually see it here, 3. But what can you do about it? Well, what we can do is we can go here to military, and we can mothball the forts, which will reduce the maintenance by at least half, I think. So we can really get some money back. The other thing is this is my naval force limit. My Navy right now is at 18. I only need 2 more ships to hit my force limit. And remember, that's one of my missions. So I want to do that before we hit unpause. And then here you can see the land force limit is 14 of 18. So given everything that we learn, and then this is, by the way, telling me that this here, it has the potential for unrest. Why? Well, look at that. It's Sunni. Okay. So can we send a missionary there? The answer is we can, but there's a reason why we don't want to. If you hover over this, you can see that our missionary has a base value of 2%, but because the culture is not accepted, basically we don't accept Moroccan culture at the moment, we get a 2% penalty. And then we get another 2% penalty because they're Sunni, and then another one because their development is fairly poor. So the missionary strength is negative 2. So I can send a missionary there and spend 0.73 a month, and he will never convert them to Catholicism. The missionary is just not strong enough. So we don't want to send anybody there right now. But that's the reason why they have unrest. That's the reason why we're having issues here. The culture is also not accepted by us, and we would have to change the culture of them, but we can't do that unless they're Catholic. So you see, they've got to have one thing before the next. All right. The unrest is at 2.6. It's the Moroccan separatists, and this is the stability tab. And the stability tab has all kinds of stuff. It has, I'm sorry, overextension. This isn't corruption. My apologies. I'm sure you don't even remember, but this little symbol that I told you was corruption when you improved your technology, it's actually your overextension. Okay, overextension in this game is the game's way of preventing you from just taking over the world. If you take over enough territory, you overextend yourself, the world will get angry at you and they'll all ally against you and until you lose. Okay, expansion. This is, of course, your colonialism. But remember, we came here because of the separatists. The Moroccan separatists, you can accept the demands, but their demands are they want you to cede this back to Morocco, just give up the territory. Or, like we said, you could send a missionary or change the culture, but those don't work. We can do harsh treatment on them, which will reduce the amount of rebels. But right now, the rebels are low percent chance of them rebelling against us. In fact, it's at 0. But this will go up every month. So it says it has a 2.6% chance of increasing. And then when it does increase, it goes up at 10% increments. So the chances of them fighting for independence will grow over time. And then we either need to boost our stability, which will reduce their ability to rebel, right? Because higher stability will equal lower separatists, lower anger. And then, of course, harsh treatment will lower it as well. And I know they put the word harsh here, and you may be tempted to, oh, I don't want to do that. I'll harsh the crap out of them, folks. It's going to cost you, though, 50 of your precious power. And that's the reason why it hurts. But it'll prevent them from rebelling against you, and that is sometimes way better than... Now, sometimes, like Jason, his strategy is let them rebel. I don't care. I don't want to spend the 50. But what he does then is he has to keep a really strong military to prevent them from doing much. Now, the biggest dilemma with Portugal is that Morocco very likely will declare war on you, and they do want this territory back badly. Now, as part of that, we have a fort there, and that fort is really hard for them to take. But we want to mothball our forts because the forts are too expensive, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go a month until December 1st before I make that decision, just like I wanted to go a month before I made the decision to hire these, okay? I want to show what does the trade do first. Let's get that figured out. And then one other thing we noticed is that we want to do a royal marriage with England, because one of our missions was to have an alliance with England and for them to have a really high view of us. So actually, what I want to do is improve our relation with England. So I'm going to do that instead of the royal marriage right now. So we're going to send another one of our diplomats to them. And then I can also send my third diplomat to them for a royal marriage, but I have to wait a month. You can only send one a month to the same country. Okay. I know I just spent another hour and I still haven't hit unpause. You guys are probably thinking I'm nuts. But I'm hoping you'll find it at least semi-interesting. And I am giving out tons of information, and I'm not actually being very long-winded, other than the fact that I'm allowing myself to explain things before hitting go. Okay, we do want to consider finishing the mission, so let's build a ship. So I'm going to pick Lisboa here because they have a shipyard. Well, they're along the coast. Just about anybody along the coast. You can see they all have ports. And this will be grayed out if you can't do it, but it says build ship. So we're going to build, two types of ship. And one of our missions was to build a flagship. You can see that right here. It takes 300 soldiers or sailors. Why can't I build a flagship? Our Navy's too small. You need to at least have 1,500 sailors. So we'll do this later. What I want to do, and this is going to cost 50, the Carrack are your big warships. They're also used for ocean travel. The bark is, think of it like a merchant ship. The galley is like a warship that's only good in the Mediterranean. It's not good in the ocean at all. And then the cog is like a transport ship. Think of it that way. Okay, before I build, let me show you. You can see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 barks. And then I have 3 carracks and then a whole bunch of transports. Oh, I meant to tell you, I have 2 of 2 leaders. You see that? So I'm going to click on my troops, and you can see up here, no leader. We have 10 infantry and 4 cavalry. Everything is always in 1,000 increments. So if I click on leader here, the Earl of Avranche, however you pronounce that, so he is a general that gives 3 pips in fire, 3 pips in shock, and 3 pips in leader. He is what we call a 3-pip leader. A 3-pip leader is amazing. 4 pips, 5 pips are even better, but most generals are only 1 or 2 pips. So we have a really good general at the start of the game. So I just assigned him to be over that army. Well, actually, he's a 2-star general. You see there, he gives you 2 stars. 3-star is super good. So this guy, I guess, is not as amazing as I just said, but 2 stars, I will take it. If I have a 14,000 army, and I'm going against somebody else with a 14,000 army, and my general's 2 stars and their general's 1 star, I'm going to win most of the time. The 2-star general makes a huge difference to whether you win or lose. Okay? There's a lot of stuff going on, but it makes a big difference. Just leave it at that. Okay. Now, I'm coming back to here. These carracks. See, there's 3 of them. I'm going to... So automatic transportation means that if I try to move these troops to, let's say, Madeira, I can right-click on Madeira, and what they'll do is these cogs will automatically go into this ocean province. The troops will load, and then they'll automatically deliver them to Madeira. I don't have to do anything more than just selecting the troops and saying this is where I want to go. Okay. And then, of course, the cogs are protected by these carrack ships. But I don't want that. I want to take... I want to create a new unit. And I'm going to move the carrack ships away from the cogs. So my transports are undefended. They'll get destroyed super easy. But I'm just going to leave them in port. We're not going to transport anybody right now. So I'm going to create 3 carrack ships, select that unit. And the reason why is because I know I have 1 more leader. And that leader has the telescope here, and spy scope, eye scope, whatever you want to call it. He is what you call an explorer. Okay. you need to have this thing called Quest for the New World. It's an idea, a national idea. We haven't talked about ideas yet, but you need that in order to have an explorer. However, Portugal starts the game with an explorer, Diogo Gomes, and if he dies, this explorer, we actually can't build another one. You can also get an admiral, which is this, and so you would assign the admiral to your warships. Okay, but what I'm doing is I'm assigning our explorer to these warships. But it's not for the purposes of war, it's for the purposes of exploration. So I'm going to select a mission now, and you got different settings you can do. I'm going to select a mission, and we have all kinds of choices, but what we want to do is explore, which you can only do with an explorer. And so I'm going to explore the West African Sea, either the coast or the sea itself. So I want to do the coast first. So I'm going to hit this, and this guy is going to automatically go and explore along the African coast here. And then because I picked coast versus sea, what that means is he's trying to expose this terra incognita, the coastal land that's along Africa. If I click sea, then he's going to go into these sea regions and try to, reveal those, which doesn't really reveal coast. Okay? All right. So now, with that being said, we have these guys going out on a mission. We have these guys completely unprotected. We need Carracks to protect them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build an early Carrack. In fact, and I apologize because I don't remember, but I think we can only build 2 more because we have a limit of 2 more. 2 Carracks is fine. It's better than 0. So I'm going to just click Build Early Carrack from here. Oh, right there it tells you. See in the green? It says 18 out of 20. Okay, I can click on Lisboa like I showed you and build a ship that way. Or I can just come here and hit plus plus. So I'm going to hit plus. That builds 1. And then I think I can afford 1 more. Yes. And you can see my sailors dropped. My gold dropped big time. And okay, they're being built. One is being built right here in Lisboa. And the other one is being built in Algarve down here. So they're being built in parallel. That's the advantage of the plus plus. If I would have built both of them in Lisboa, they would have been built serially, meaning one at a time. Now they're being built in parallel. And as soon as this one gets built, it'll automatically leave this port and then go to Lisboa and join here. And in fact, they'll automatically join the cogs, as long as I don't move the cogs away. Okay? Okay, now the last one are the barks. These are the merchant ships. I'm going to send them on a mission. And this is a complicated choice. If we don't hunt pirates, the pirates are going to harass us. They'll come along the coast here and just plunder our money. So they literally will steal money from us. And your barks can do that. So we can send a fleet to hunt down the pirates. Let's see. Sending a fleet to hunt pirates will reduce the efficiency of privateers in that trade node. Galleys can only hunt in inland sea. Okay? Or we can protect trade, which will go and increase our trade power in that trade node, which gives us more money. I'm going to try protecting trade, but I have a feeling those pirates are coming. So let's go ahead and do that. And I'm going to go ahead and do Sevilla, which of course is our trade node, and I'm going to hit send. Now we're going to get extra power in Sevilla, which, remember I told you this number is going to go up, this 2.92. Well, it's going to go up because of our merchant and because we are protecting the node. But the protecting the node should happen immediately. So this 27%, as soon as I hit unpause, should go up because those 5 barks are going to be adding to our trade power here. And our trade power is 93.5. So do I see that over here somewhere? Yeah, right here, 93.5. And so right here, trade power from light ships and merchants. You can see we have a 0. That number will go up. And so that will cause the 93.5 to go up. So let's think, yeah, he's got a mission set. We're good. We should be good. So let's go ahead and unpause. Well, you know what? I'm at an hour, so I will do that in the next video. Thanks for watching. Stay awesome. I promise, I really will play. We're going to hit unpause as soon as I start that next video. Okay, we'll see you soon.